Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the SevereMMA Picks and Plays. It is February 17th. I am Spencer Kyte, your friendly neighborhood Spencer man, joined as always by the greatest Irish import to Canada in quite some time, Mr. Ian O'Neill. Good sir, how are things in the prairies today?
Things are well. We had like a brief tease of some springtime weather where we got plus temperatures there for a couple of days last week. But you know what? We're right back at the minus 24 today, and it's like a shock to the system again. It's like,
yeah, it's the middle of February. Don't get your hopes up.
I'm here 7 years now, man.
I learned
better. Yeah. I think we're due that late February spurt, and we're due that March snow as well. So I plan to travel back to Ireland for a few weeks in March too, maybe. So I'll just let the end of the winter kind of see itself out the door here, and hopefully it'll be a little bit better when I do eventually get back towards the end of March. So
I like that you think it's going to end in March.
It's probably not. No, it's
probably not. Probably more like May.
It's wishful thinking. If I look, this is a betting show. If I was to put a bet on it, I wouldn't be that confident.
Wouldn't be taking the odds that March is the end of the snow. No, that would be a poor wager, of which you and I have been quite familiar so far this year, unfortunately. Before we get to the event we are here for, UFC Vegas 69 at the UFC APEX on Saturday, we recap last week, as we always do. So UFC 284 in Perth, Australia. On the pick front, not bad. I went 7-5-1. You went 8-4-1. Positive numbers. For the year, I'm 29-19-2. You are 28-20-2. We are running neck and neck. I think we both want the overall totals to be higher. But look, we're ahead of the game. We got winning numbers. This is good. On the wagering side of things, however, hasn't been as good.
Can we just stop the podcast now?
Yeah, this is so it's funny, right? One of the things I always said, and I have always done for the dozen years that I have done picks and predictions, like put them out publicly, is keep track of all of my numbers and be very transparent with where my record is, stuff like that. Because the way I look at it, if people are sitting down to listen to what I have to say and consult me for picks and predictions and things like that, well, I want to tell them where they're coming. I want them to know each week where I'm at. And this isn't necessarily a shot at anybody that doesn't do it that way. But for me, it conveys just that level of transparency and that level of openness about how I've done. So look, you're going to know year after year that I've been in the 60, 62, 63% range in terms of making my picks. And unfortunately, that also means you and I are going to be very transparent here in telling people that we haven't had much success with our plays yet so far this year. So last week at UFC 284, I had $93 wagered, brought in 26 for another minus $67 for the day. Year to date, it is 475 out, 281 and a half in. So I am down $193.50 for 2023. You at UFC 284 had $130 out, cashed $90 worth of tickets, so only lost $40. Not bad. Year to date, 395 out, 266 and a half in, down 129.50. So we're both still, not quite 200 bucks down for the year so far. And we're 4 events in. So we're losing less than $50 a fight card, which, grand scheme of things.
Oh, we're betting on
it could certainly be worse.
Yeah.
It could certainly be worse. We would like for it to get better.
We're having fun, and that's the main thing. No, but I got a little bit greedy, as I was saying to you. I think off camera for ahead of the preview show, I felt I got a little bit greedy in the Yair Rodriguez prediction to go all the way, and I thought about it after the fact. I convinced myself that it was kind of going to happen, and it was it wasn't a bet that I was proud of after the fact. Like, thinking back on it again, you put that $50 down on Yair, and I would have turned over a profit on that event as well. So that's just one bet, and, I don't know whether I learned my lesson or not.
I know I'm going to hold on to this for a good couple of weeks, but it's that Doo Ho Choi draw for me, right? That's going to be the one I point to all the time, because the result of that fight, if it's scored for Doo Ho Choi, as one of the 3 judges did, I go from losing $100 on 2 combined bets to making $116 profit on those bets. And all of a sudden things looked totally different, both for that fight card and year-to-date landscape. And it's as simple as that. My wife and I joke all the time. I come down, she says, how'd you do on your picks? And I tell her, and it's above 500 last week, 7-5-1, not bad, blah, 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 blah. How'd you do on your plays? And I just say, I don't want to talk about it. She's like, how is it this bad? I'm like, because it's so hard. Like
It
this,
is.
there's so many different props you can look at and chase and track and things like that. It's really difficult, but we're having fun.
It's just one bet. That's all we
still
were
having
talking
fun?
about. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I can't wait. I can't wait to put more. And I'm like giving it the big one. It was like, oh, I got too greedy. And wait till you hear my first bet of the of the evening.
Well, we will get to that momentarily. The theme of fun is important because we want people to remember as well. This is all just fun for us. Please always bet responsibly. Don't spend anything you can't afford to lose. Don't take anything too seriously. If you have a problem, please reach out for help, either to friends or the Gambling Awareness Network in your area. We will include, as we always do, links to those types of centers in Canada, the United States, Ireland, and the United Kingdom in the show notes. We are playing with Monopoly money here. As we mentioned every single week, this isn't real money that Ian and I are wagering. Our missuses would throw us out. We would be living on the streets together if we were trying to actually do this. I don't have a $2,000 bankroll to play with, nor does IO. So please, please, please wager responsibly. Only put in when you can afford to lose, as we said. Have some fun with it. And if there are issues for yourself or someone you love, please reach out and seek help. I've been around gambling my entire life. I know the ills of it. I know how bad it can get. So please seek help if you need it. We care about you in that regard. We want you to have fun with this with us. But if it becomes a problem, please take care of yourselves or those in your life that need that help. With that being said, Mr. O'Neill, we're on to UFC Vegas 69, headlined by a short notice pairing between Jessica Andrade and Erin Blanchfield. Great fight in the flyweight division. Who are you picking? And what is this big old play that you got lined up for us?
I think it's a great fight. I like this fight, and I think we both share our excitement to this fight. Ideally, you want to see both of these fighters coming in on probably a full camp. Obviously, Jessica Andrade is only a month away from her last fight. How ready is she for this? Or how ready does she need to be is probably the question. With Erin Blanchfield, I have been very high on Erin Blanchfield and her move up the rankings. I was very interested to see her coming in against Talio Santos. I had been thinking about that fight a little bit. I didn't get into great detail or watch too much tape, obviously enough, because it got pulled last week. But I was thinking, Blanchfield would have been competitive in that fight, but probably might have maybe dropped a decision or something. And I feel here that she does have avenues to win this fight. We've seen what she did against Monty McCann, and she's going to have to try and do the same here. I mean, let's not go around and mess about too much with someone like Jessica Andrade on the feet. Obviously, she's very powerful, striking, very powerful grappling as well. And that's the big, big question in this fight is, how do both of these women match up in the grappling department? Can Jessica Andrade get Erin Blanchfield off of her and kind of land those big shots and keep in the fight? I think she can, but how long can she do it for is another question that kind of overhangs this fight as well, seeing as she is coming in short notice too. That being said, I just do think even at short notice that Jessica Andrade, what we've seen from her, she's been excellent in the last couple of years. She's really found herself in the 125-pound division, put on an excellent display against Laura Murphy, and the fight should have been stopped, but one way or another. But she looked excellent in that fight. I expect her to do enough early in this fight to get the job done. My pick is Jessica Andrade. I have two plays in this fight. And my first play is a straight up $100 bet at -138 on Jessica Andrade to win. That's it. Straight up $100 at -138 is going to get you back a 172. It'll cover you for the entire card. My second little bet is I have confidence in Erin Blanchfield's ability to bring Andrade to a decision. I believe that Andrade will probably do things and maybe keep Erin Blanchfield off of her, maybe land some shots early in the fight. Will we see her tired? Will we see Erin Blanchfield take her down? Will Erin Blanchfield even get there? I think she might. I have not gone too mad. I've gone $5 at +700 for Andrade to win a decision. That price was a boosted price on Bet365. To me, too good to turn down. A small bet for a good bit of profit. $5 at +700 gets you back $40.
So I went half of what you did on Jessica Andrade to win, because I think a lot of the things, and we covered it in detail yesterday on the preview show, yourself, myself, the great Harry Powell, we're all very high on Erin Blanchfield. But as we said then, as I said on 10 things, this feels like rather than taking a step up in competition, it's taking two. And while I love it, and I'm happy to see the UFC make this decision and Erin Blanchfield to stick in the fight and all of those things, I just think, as I said on the preview show, as I'm saying here, I side with the veteran that has shown me, including very recently, how dangerous and talented and scary she can be over even somebody that tops my list of prospects in the UFC. I could be dead wrong. I will have no problem as an analyst, as somebody that loves this sport and pays attention to these competitors, crumpling up my Jessica Andrade tickets because Erin Blanchfield goes out and gets a win, and I get to sit down on Tuesday with Harry and we can lose our minds about this 23-year-old that's just continuing to soar.
And you can say you can say it to a lot of people too. I told you so, because you, like, we had all been watching, but you have been speaking very highly, and I'll commend you for that, about Erin Blanchfield for a long time. Early in her UFC career, and rightly so as well. But like, for me, a loss isn't detrimental to her career.
No, I agree.
She's just taking a chance here, and you know what? I love it. You will hear me maybe speaking on other podcasts saying I love fighters who are taking gambles on themselves, whether it's for one reason, taking fights, whether it's, you know, coming into the UFC and taking lower pay and building yourself up to the good pay. I just love someone who's taking a chance. Obviously, we don't want. I would hope if Jessica Andrade is getting the better of Erin Blanchfield over the course of this fight, and if it's getting to Lauren Murphy territory, I wouldn't like to see that, obviously enough. So hopefully cooler heads or common sense prevails really in this fight. But I'm very curious to see how Erin Blanchfield, I think if this was a straight up, my decision is a much easier, and I'd almost guarantee you Jessica Andrade, because it's short notice, it does add that exclamation point on top of this fight for me. It makes it a little bit interesting. But like you said, the experience is key, and figuring out problems when you're in there with elite level competition is something that Jessica Andrade has been doing for years, and we're only beginning to see that from Erin Blanchfield now.
For sure. And so, like you, as I said, I'm going half of your win on Andrade wager. So it's $50 on Andrade at -138, returns 86.23. And then I'm going the other way in terms of the decision or finish. I'm leaning finish. I think she just does enough. And probably pretty early, I'm going to lean on sort of the JJ Aldrich fight as the basis for some of this. JJ Aldrich came out, was working very well behind just her crisp, clean fundamentals. And I think with the power and the variety that Andrade brings, there's a very good chance that she lands something that hurts Erin Blanchfield and is able to get her out of there. It's $25 to finish at +110, returns you 52.50. So in total on the main event, it's 75 out, 138 and change back, $63 profit if Andrade wins by stoppage. It would certainly go a long way, I would think, to making the night better. Hopefully it's just adding on to earlier profits, but maybe it'll end up being the thing that makes it a less painful end of the night. Jessica Andrade getting a victory in the main event for you, for me, for our tickets, for our wallets, and for all of those backing her at home. We move to the co-main event, Jordan Wright and Zach Pauga in the light heavyweight division. What are your thoughts, Ian O'Neill?
I think this is the last chance saloon really for Jordan Wright here, you know, coming in 3 defeats, 3 finishes in those defeats as well. So he's pulled out the get out of jail free card. He's pulled out the I'm moving up or down a division card. And this is his last chance really, coming in against Zach Pauga, who is moving down from the heavyweight. Obviously was in there last time against Muhammad Usman and was winning that fight. Look really impressive until he just got caught. He just got caught by a bigger guy in that fight. And I don't think he's going to have those problems here. I think you said it perfectly. It's kind of like Jordan Wright is a guy who just goes out and lives by the sword and dies by the sword a little bit in the way he fights. He's kind of outrageous in any kind of attacks, whether they're on the feet or on the mat, and he takes chances. And the problems are when you take chances is that sometimes they don't always work out. And we've seen that. He actually Jordan Wright looked really good against Todorovic in his last fight, to be honest, until he got tired. And it was that kind of fact that really makes me wonder how he's going to deal with getting a bigger man off of him or trying to take a bigger guy down in this fight. And I just think that he's not going to be able to do it. Or if he does do it, he might end up getting tired and getting finished later on in the fight. So look, Zach Pauga is a guy who's very early in his career. He's a guy who's ever going to be improving. He's down, like you said on the preview show, at his natural weight class now. I think one thing that he's going to look at, a very confident guy in his striking for being so early. Maybe you can give me has he had some kind of striking experience before mixed martial arts? Because he's a guy who looked like
pro football and pro rugby.
But he's an athlete then.
He's an athlete.
Yeah, he's come in and he looks like, for a guy who's not that long striking, looks a lot better than a guy who's only been doing it for a couple of years. I think he got found out for a little bit of overconfidence against Muhammad Usman, where, you know, he likes to kind of be like slick on the feet, but sometimes you got to be more technical than slick, and he got caught.
Well, and I think that's also, and I talked to him before this fight, and he just said, like, look, heavyweight MMA is different. And I can tell you this because I go every day with Curtis Blades, and I used to go every day with Alistair Overeem, which was actually his entree into the sport, was just went to high altitude martial arts in Denver, part of the Elevation Fight team, to learn some self-defense. He was working as a city officer, basically, one of the kind of suburban areas, part of their police force type of thing. Went in to get some self-defense training. They were like, you're a big guy. You seem kind of athletic. Do you want to roll with, you know, and you give some wrestling rounds to these guys? And it's Curtis Blades and Alistair Overeem and the other monsters that they have in there. And he was like, this is kind of
good company right to be in.
If I'm going to be in here getting beat up every once in a while, why don't I just try to make some money at it? And here we are, just 6 fights in. But like, sometimes heavyweight MMA, and we've talked about this on the preview show, sometimes it doesn't matter if you're the more technical guy. It doesn't matter if you're the more skilled guy. He's the better. This is going to sound blasphemous given the result. He's a better fighter than Muhammad Usman.
I think so too.
But Mo Usman has great big gargantuan power and put a left hook on his chin. And as Zach said, it's the first time in his professional sporting career where he hasn't had a chance to respond to a mistake. Like, you just get put all the way out and suddenly somebody's telling you, no, we're done here. And he's like, what do you mean? I don't get to shit. This sucks. And now he comes back down.
He gets a chance to do it in this fight. And I think he does get it done. My pick is Zach Pauga to get the win. A little bet in this fight. I have, I was going to put him into a parlay, but then I just said, I saw a little bit of value at plus 450 for him to get a second round win. Again, that seems to be a little bit of a trend with Jordan Wright, where he'll come out strong, he'll tire out, and then kind of just get finished maybe in the second round. And I can kind of see that happening here. I think that Jordan Wright is going to be looking to get this fight down. I think if he can get the fight down, he's in with a little bit of a chance, but could still lose. But if he doesn't get the fight down, I think he's going to be in for a world of trouble with Zach Pauga, and he's striking. And that's why I picked $10 at plus 450 to get you back 55. Pauga to win by the second round.
So we are in the same camp again in terms of who's going to win in Zach Pauga, but we will be rooting for opposite rounds. I will be rooting for a round one finish with $10 at plus 162. For all the reasons you said, Jordan Wright is a guy that it's kill or be killed. And for the most part, That happens inside of 5 minutes. He comes out and, as you would like to say, goes hell for leather. And if he lands, great. And if he doesn't, his chin's up there and he's getting clobbered. And while Zach Pauga isn't a guy that has finished a bunch of fights in his previous light heavyweight appearances, I think he has 1 out of his 5 wins. He's faced some good competition. He's gone the distance with some good guys, including Marcus Perez, who used to fight in the UFC for a number of years. And I just think there's enough natural power, natural ability to go out there, put Jordan Wright in some bad positions, put his hands on him, and get a finish. Plus 160, $10, gets you back 26-20. We'll see. You and I can be arguing about which round and getting after each other in terms of rounds when this fight starts.
I like your bet, and I actually like your Andrade bet as well. I'm simply being a greedy hooer here. That's all I am. I am betting. I'm betting for the odds. I'm betting that Pauga might just kind of play with his food a little bit in round 1 and then look to finish when he's more certain that Jordan Wright is going to tire out.
Fair enough.
That's it.
Well, we're getting into now. Let's find out how much of a degenerate scumbag you are territory, because it's the quintessential. Why are these heavyweights in the middle of the main card fight? Josh Parisian, Jamal Pogues. Who are you picking? And are there any deadbeat plays here?
Oh my God. I'll get to the plays in a minute. Like this, I watched, like, if you were to watch, right, the first 2 minutes of Josh Parisian's last fight, if you were to do that though against Alan Badeau, you would think that this guy is pretty good. He came out and his footwork was good. He was moving a lot. He was slicking in with the jab. He was getting out of the way. And then at the 2-minute mark of that first round, everything went away. And Alan Badeau lost that fight. Josh Parisian didn't win that fight, to be honest, in my opinion. Parisian is going to be good. He throws a lot of spinning attacks. He's going to be good and dangerous for the first 1 or 2 minutes of this fight. And I think it's going to fall flat for him after that. I think Pogues is going to come in here. He's the more elusive on the feet. He's going to have to try and keep Parisian off of him. Parisian is going to look to try and take this fight down. He's going to try and clinch up against the cage. He's going to try and put his weight. He's going to come in here as the heavier fighter than Jamal Pogues. I think that Pogues is going to be able to keep him off him. He has a great jab. He needed 2 decision wins to get into the UFC on Dana White's Contender Series. He fought a smaller enough guy I think he was a lot smaller of a guy than Parisian in Dana White's Contender Series. But that being said, it's going to be more difficult for him to keep Parisian off of him. I think he will get it done. He needs to be very patient in this fight. My pick is Jamal Pogues to win. And my play is part of a parlay that we're going to hear about a little bit later.
Fair enough. Putting somebody into a parlay isn't that bad. I was waiting to see if there was going to be any like straight up picks with this, because to me, this is keep me all the way away from it territory. They are as well. As always, I have my main card, prelim card, and full card parlays later at the end of the show. But other than that, it's complete stay away territory for me, because as much as I think Jamal Pogues should be the better fighter here, for all the reasons you laid out, he's a more athletic guy, moves well. Heavyweight is sort of just got to heavyweight. He was a light heavyweight for a lot of his earlier career. I just can't trust any of this. I can't trust either of these guys at all. The betting line is way too wide for me in terms of, Jamal Pogues as a favorite. So this is pick Pogues, watch the chaos, see what happens, hope we get it right for the main card parlay, and that's about it. Which brings us to the light heavyweight division. William Knight versus Marcin Prachnio. Who have you got? And are they part of any parlays?
Big Willie in the house.
Thick Willie.
Or Thick Willie, is it?
Fuck. Thick Willie Knight. Shout out to my guy, Dan Tom, for introducing the nickname Thick Willie with 3 C's for William Knight. He is a gigantic human being.
I am forever going to call him that name now. William Knight is a name of the past for me. So I got mistaken. I remember I thought you said Big Willie. It's Thick Willie.
It's Thick Willie.
All the way. Look at, I think with Thick Willie, you know, his thickness does come back to haunt him a little bit in the later stages. I feel the most important thing is who is going to get a better start in this fight, because, and I, with Thick Willie, I think he's going to have to get a better start because he's going to fade, and I think Prashino is not going to fade in this fight. So this could be kind of a tale of two fights within one fight. Look at Thick Willie is going to be the more athletic guy, but he does tire out. He carries a serious amount of weight. He's about as wide as he is tall. And it's
he's 5'10" squared. Yes.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I've picked William Knight to win this fight. I've put him in it. I made him a part of a parlay that we'll talk about a little bit later on. But this is like the last fight. And to be honest, there's a couple of fights like this on this card where I just put him in to a parlay just for the shits and the giggles, really, to be honest, because this is a fight that could go any way. I would not be surprised to see Marcin pull away later stages of the round. I wouldn't be surprised to see Thick Willie knock him out early. But the real interesting part of this is that if it goes over a 1.5 rounds, because that's when we've seen the tide turn for old Thick Willie before in the past.
So I think we're gonna have a good insight into the outcome of this fight on Friday morning when they step on the scales, because this fight was originally supposed to happen towards the end of November. It was canceled for undisclosed reasons, and now here we are 2 months later. But in those 2 months, we've had American Thanksgiving and we've had the Christmas holidays, and Thick Willie has had a problem maintaining that weight sometimes.
Thick Willie always goes back for a second plate.
We talked about it on the preview show that he had that short notice fight with Max Gresham and just kind of turned up 13 pounds over and was like, hey, look, I tried. I got a feeling we might get I couldn't get down to 205, but I'm 209 or I'm 212. And Prachnio will just be like, yeah, sure, great. And he'll spend probably 7.5 minutes staying the Christ away from William Knight, making him chase. And then as he gets tired, he'll just pick him apart. So my pick is Marcin Prachnio. I've gone the degenerate route and gone $10 on Prachnio to win at plus 100. Just look for that quick double up. 10 gets you 20. Banking on the fact that William Knight has lost his last 2 and that I don't think he's going to, even if he makes weight, I know what it takes for him to make weight and how difficult it is to carry all of that muscle around. And so I just go with the guy that has a little bit more diverse of a striking game, a little bit more well-rounded arsenal to him. As you said, William Knight could come out here and just hit him with a ham hock in 40 seconds and we're done. But I'm going to bank on Prachnio using some veteran guile, playing it kind of smart, kind of safe, dragging this into the later stages of things and getting a win on the scorecards.
Prachnio is a guy that we've seen against Philip Lins, who we'll talk about a little bit. And, you know, what you're saying is dead on, because he didn't have a great start against Lins, but he was coming on and he was the more dominant grappler in that stage of the fight. I'm purely banking on Thick Willie to get the knockout early here. I ain't expecting Thick Willie to be coming on strong in the 3rd round. And if he is, I don't know, there must have been something in that turkey at Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Brings us to the main card finale. Jim Miller, Alexander Hernandez in a short notice lightweight matchup. Who do you like, and have you got any plays, Ian O'Neill?
The big question I have coming into this fight is what Alex Hernandez are we going to see in there? Because we've been getting a motivated, highly charged Alex Hernandez. We've got the featherweight version of Alex Hernandez that came in the last time and it just didn't work out. He started really well and just faded away. And you know, that's been happening, whether it's at featherweight or whether it's at lightweight. It's just that it was accelerated.
Kind of starting to be the Alex Hernandez trademark.
It is. And it's for that fact alone. You know, I've been listening to you over the last couple of weeks and you know, what you're saying is, what do we know? And we don't know a lot about Alex Hernandez, but we know what fucking Jim Miller is going to turn up to this fight, because Jim Miller always turns up. And I feel that if he can weather an early storm here with Alex coming in at late notice, I can't look past Jim Miller for this fight. I just can't. This was a difficult one for me. It was a real difficult one because Alex Hernandez could come in early and get the job done. But what we've seen with Miller is that he is tenacious. He is massively experienced. He knows how to stay safe. You know, anytime he's just gotten caught or is just simply beaten by a better fighter, and that can happen, you know. But I'm not too sure Alex Hernandez has it at short notice. The way Jim Miller has been performing lately, he has a new lease of life. The Lyme's disease is gone. And it's brilliant to see. I'm all here for it. And maybe I'm getting a little bit sentimental. Maybe I'm choosing with my heart more so than my head here. But my pick is Jim Miller. And I've gone by Jim Miller to win by decision at plus 600. $10 is going to get you 70. I think if he weathers the early storm, that he'll probably finish stronger. And, you know, he has the ability to put Alex Hernandez in a couple of difficult positions in the grappling exchanges, I think.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see. I was surprised when I looked at Bet365, where you and I get all of our odds for these fights and these wagers that we make, and saw Jim Miller as an underdog. This is a short notice fight for Alex Hernandez and a, you know, kind of 10 days notice type of deal. Like up until 2 weeks ago, this was Gabriel Benitez, and Alex Hernandez was still just going to be at home in Colorado licking his wounds from getting pieced up by Billy Q. And so for him to come in, and I understand that he's fought a higher level of competition of late, but he hasn't done well. If you look at his actual results and his actual record in the UFC over these last few fights, even going all the way back to the Beneil Dariush fight, like that Dariush fight has just become such an outlier, just such a random. And I mean, the win over Ali Aubin-Mercier is a good win. Ali has developed and won the PFL tournament last year. But like since then, it's been lose to the guys that are better than you and beat guys that you should beat. And anything that's a coin flip, Alex Hernandez is losing. And so in terms of age, in terms of athleticism, is he the superior fighter? Does he have the ticks in his box for those categories? Yeah, sure. But like you, I'm going to side with the guy that A, full camp for this fight, B, most fights in UFC history, C, most wins in UFC history, and is on a 3-fight winning streak. And sure, if you want to say Cowboy Cerrone's got his foot out the door, fine. Stopped the 2 guys before that as well in Nick Moda and Eric Gonzalez. And so for me, I'm on that $10 Jim Miller to win at plus 187, returns 28.70, and a little $5 on a finish at plus 300, returns $20. We've seen Hernandez start quick, fade, and get stopped. And I think Jim Miller has enough avenues. We've seen it in the last few fights. He's got avenues to finish fights. Still got a good left hand. I think we're going to see a bunch of low kicks early. He's got a great calf kick. He'll be chopping at that lead leg. And he's a legit black belt on the ground if it gets there. I know he's always wanted to get a Kimura in the UFC. He hasn't gotten one in his career. Wouldn't be surprised to see him chase one at some point, so he gets that one off of his list. But I just think short notice Alex Hernandez is in tough here against a good veteran. And like you, it might be a little bit of my heart leading my head. I'm fine with that. I'm always going to let my heart follow Jim Miller.
100%. I feel it would be a different conversation that we'd be having, Spencer, if we were talking about Alex Hernandez coming in here on a full camp as well. I think realistically in this fight, he's got 4 minutes to win. He's got 4 minutes, I think he has in the tank. And while I'm watching it, I'm going to be watching closely. I think he's going to come on strong. I think Jim Miller might be in some greasy moments early in this fight, but if he can weather that storm and get past that initial kind of spurt from Alex Hernandez, I don't think Hernandez is going to have too much left in the tank, and we're going to turn into survival mode then, because he just simply has not had enough time to get prepared for this fight. So interesting to see. And it's I like this fight.
It's a good fight. We move to the prelims here on the SevereMMA Picks and Plays. Spencer Kyte, Ian O'Neill, UFC Vegas 69. Final bout of the prelims, Lena Landsberg, Myra Bueno Silva in the bantamweight division. IO, what do you think here?
To me, I said it on the preview show, and I'm going to say it here again. To me, this is what the UFC are hoping is going to be a layup fight for Myra Bueno Silva. against Lena Landsberg. And I use the word hoping there because, you know, there's no guarantees that it's going to happen. Lena Landsberg is tough. She's durable. She's got some power. But I think Mara Bueno Silva is just way better fighter overall. I feel that she doesn't push herself enough in fights, and I think that she's going to need to start to do that if she wants to move up the rankings. I think she struggled a little bit, Mara Bueno Silva, with Wu Yanan's kind of movement in that fight to kind of get a read on Wu Yanan, but I don't think she's going to have that problem with Lena Landsberg because Landsberg is a pretty static striker. And I think, you know, that front kick up the middle is always dangerous. That's going to kind of drain on the gas tank. And I think she's got some good power when she decides to throw in combinations. And I hope that we see that from Mara Bueno Silva in this fight. It's a good test for her. She got a lovely arm bar against Stephanie Egger in her last fight. The old Brazilian tap almost worked for Stephanie there. My pick is Mario Bueno Silva. I have her as a part of a parlay that we'll talk about a little bit later on. Not confident enough. I cannot trust Mara Bueno Silva to put money on her. I think she's going to win this fight, but I cannot trust her enough to put down some big money on her to do so. So that's why I threw her into the parlay.
That is exactly where I am at with this. I think she wins. I think she wins rather handily, but the odds are just, there's nothing there that I look at as very interesting. The go the distance prop isn't great. The over prop isn't great. The money line isn't great. So it's pick Mara Bueno Silva, sit back, no bets, just part of that overall parlay, similar to what you were talking about. And away we go. Just let it happen. Let's see what happens. If she gets a win, it's a good win. She moves forward. We'll talk about her again going forward, but it's that shaky confidence in picking her at the number she's at. We move to the featherweight division. Jamal Emmers welcomes Hussein Ashkabov to the UFC. You are curious, as I am, about Hussein Ashkabov. Are you picking him? Do you have any wagers on him?
I am picking him. I feel, even though there's a lot of unknowns about this guy, and his record speaks for himself, but from the footage I have seen from him, what I'm seeing is a very unorthodox and it's hard fighter to predict. He's very unpredictable in terms of what shots he's going to throw. You know, even with his submission game and his grappling a little bit kind of unorthodox, and will go and throw for stuff and go for your Kimuras and go for your arm bars. Lots of spinning attacks, heavy ground and pound. If this guy can put Emmers on his back, he's going to land some big damage there. Now, Jamal Emmers is a very, very good fighter. He's been in a couple of good fights in the UFC. He was very unlucky, I feel, in the Pat Sabatini fight where he hurt Sabatini, dropped him, and just got caught up in Pat Sabatini's submission game and left his leg dangling a little bit too long. Now, he's going to learn a lot from that fight. Hopefully, it hasn't cost him too much because he hasn't fought since then, and his knee was obviously in tatters after that as well. I'm going at some value as a 23-0. I'm going to probably put his 23-0 more on the lines of maybe an 11, 12, or 13-0, given the kind of level of competition that he's fought. I think that Emmers coming back from injury, what's he going to be like? What's his mental game going to be like? Will he hold back? You know, that's not a nice experience getting your leg tore up there. So I'll be interested. I think if he comes in and performs like we've seen him perform to his best in the octagon, he can very well win this fight. And the odds suggest that here too. This is a pick 'em fight. Ashkabov could go in there and blow him out of the water, and then we know he's legit. I'm going to go for Ashkabov. I think I have not had enough confidence to put a straight bet on this fight, so I've thrown him into a parlay that we'll talk about later on as well.
Yeah, I think if Jamal Emmers wasn't facing a guy that we know has a little bit of wrestling and has a little bit of that grappling game, then I would feel even more confident sort of siding with him, even though he's coming off a year and change layoff. Ashkabov hasn't fought in just about 3 years, but the overall, the record, who he's trained with, a little bit of the hype, I have to side with the 23-0 prospect. I don't feel super confident in it. As we talked about on the preview show, This is very much a prove it and find out kind of moment for Hussein Ashkabov. I think he gets the win, but much like the Bueno Silva Landsberg fight, no bets. No, just included in the parlays that are always there, but just staying away because it's too many question marks for me to put money into it at numbers that don't really, for me, weigh out to being worth that risk. So we'll just see how it plays out, make some reads on Ashkabov going forward, and see where we're at down the road.
It's about as least confident that I've ever been in a guy who's been 23-0. And normally when you're getting to that level, you're like, this guy is legit. But we just don't know. We just don't know.
That's tough. We move to the light heavyweight division. Vince St. Preux against Felipe Lins. Booked for the third time in the light heavyweight division. 2 veterans, 2 guys in their late 30s. Io, you're in your mid 30s. Which of these 2 do you like? And do you have any plays?
I like both of these gentlemen, but I don't necessarily think that only one of them could win, is going to win this fight, to be honest. So, look at.
They're both lovely lads. I hope they have fun on Saturday.
Yeah. I am just amazed that every time I study fight for OSP, how he has the ability to win fights and go this far into his mixed martial arts career without throwing jabs or any shots from his right hand side. His lead leg doesn't leave the canvas. His right arm doesn't ever get extended because the man just doesn't throw it. It's that back roundhouse kick and it's that overhand left that he's looking to land all the time. And it's got him to where he's at right now. And he's a veteran inside the UFC. Lynn's coming down. Obviously, he made the move down from heavyweight to light heavyweight. And he looked good. He looked good in his last fight, to be honest. I think he probably still had a little bit of adjusting to move down in the weight. He tired out for sure towards the end of that fight against what's the guy that we spoke about? Prachnio, yeah. That was both of their last fights. I was impressed early days, but Prachnio kind of got off to a slow start and kind of allowed Lins to kind of implement his game plan. I don't think Owen St. Pierre is going to do that. I think, we'll skit and we'll joke about Owen St. Pierre, but he's like, prayer, Jeremy. Owen Saint. Every time I say Saint, I always say Pierre for George St. Pierre.
Understandably,
you know what I mean. It's just a reflex, I should say. But I think Owen St. Preux is. I'm going to call him OSP. Let's do that.
There you go.
OSP is just effective at what he does. He knows how to win fights, and I think, while I do think this is a fight for Philip Lins to lose, I think he's going to lose it. I have picked OSP. And my play in this fight is OSP as the underdog to win a decision. I think not super confident in it, but I'd say what we're going to see here is that back teep kick that OSP uses. He needs to use that with great effectiveness in this fight to keep Philip Lins off of him. I think he's going to have to try and stay off the cage, and I think he can do that. Very well. He's coming up against guys that have been trying to take him down for many years now. Whether Lins can be effective in doing it and maintain his cardio is the big question for me. So I would expect Lins to maybe start stronger and fade away, whereas that OSP just he starts at a pace, he sets that pace, and he maintains that pace.
He goes 40 the whole way,
all the way. And I think that if he can keep this competitive early, and if he can take it into the later stages, I feel that he could get the decision win here. Not super confident, that being said, hence the $10 bet. You know how confident I am and how much money I'm laying down, to be honest. I went for the underdog here. I like the price. I could have went 50.
No, I understand the value. It's a value bet. It makes sense. It's a value play.
I could have went for Lins to win, but I was like, fuck it. I think after watching back the tape, I'll watch back tape on one, I'll watch on the other, and then I'll make my decision. And what I have written down here is that I feel that OSP has the tools to kind of counteract what Philip Lins is going to bring to him. And I don't think he's going to get the finish. I don't think Lins is going to get a finish either, to be honest. I can see this fight going all the way, and I've chose that plus 550 to get you back $60 that OSP is going to win by decision.
And overall, OSP has had relative success at light heavyweight. Some of those losses that are on his record recently are heavyweight fights, going up and facing guys like Ben Rothwell. I like when we're on the opposite side of picks, though. I thought Philip Lins looked good against Marcin Prachnio. I think getting a second opportunity to stay at this weight class, to be out of that heavyweight build and that heavyweight sort of mentality and musculature and physicality is only going to serve him well. For me, this is a little bit of a play on OSP, or a little bit of a pick on OSP being at that tail end of things at 39 and sort of playing on a bunch of what you said. He's a guy that isn't going to throw big volume and isn't going to throw big combinations or anything. He's looking for ones. That's it. He's throwing big singles and trying to get you out of there. And I think similar to the fight with Prachnio, Philip Lins can go out there and land just a little more volume throughout. And for me, the pick is the Brazilian. But in terms of plays, this is another stay away. I have zero faith in either of these men. I don't like any of the numbers. I'm not chasing any props. I'm trying to learn from previous mistakes, stay away from fights that I don't feel good about. So I'm staying away from this one, which brings us to the featherweight contest between Dana White Contender Series grad Nazim Sadikov and Evan Elder, who makes his sophomore appearance at the UFC. What did you see of these two guys? What do you like? Who do you see getting their hand raised?
Well, I saw what our good colleague, Mr. Harry Powell, says. A lot of mad bastardry in these two fighters, to be honest. Both wild men. Elder throws wild on the feet. Sadikov, a very powerful guy, loves his spinning attacks. Starts very fast, and I think that's going to be the key in this fight, is who starts quicker and who kind of sets off on the front foot, demands the center of the cage. One thing, it's a strange thing to say about fighters, but one thing I've seen about Sadikov is that you can tell that he enjoys hurting people. Do you know what I mean?
That's not a strange thing to say about fighters.
Yeah, but some fighters don't.
Some of them you can really tell, though. Some of them
kind of have
to be like, oh, you really love this.
Yeah, and I could see that with Sadikov. He loves it. He's throwing heavy shots on the feet, nasty elbows when he gets on top. I think, he has power that will translate into the later rounds as well. I think with Elder, he commits a little bit too much and leaves himself open for takedowns, which he might not have to worry about too much here. I think against Parsons, he was just completely outmatched in all departments. The striking, the wrestling. You cannot question Elder's heart, but I think that Sadikov is, from what I've seen so far, unless Elder comes in here completely rejuvenated, my pick for this fight is Nazim Sadikov to get the win. I think he has more tools and more methods to kind of get the win in this fight. Will it be a finish? I'm not so sure. My pick is Sadikov. No plays on this one. Not even
in a parlay.
Not even in a parlay.
I think I called this a featherweight fight. I want to correct myself. It is a lightweight fight. It is not a featherweight fight. I like that we now have two fights where we are on opposite sides of things. I am siding with Evan Elder. And my logic is this. Nazim Sadikov looked okay on the Contender Series. As you said, some mad bastardry. He comes out looking to throw. Took him into the third round to get that finish. And it was fine. It was a just kind of death by 1,000 cuts type of finish. I'm just curious to see what Evan Elder looks like now back down at his natural weight class. The fight with Preston Parsons, to me, one, it's short notice. Two, it's up a weight class against a guy who is a big, physical welterweight. And so for Evan Elder, who is still just 25 years old, turns 26 next month, in 2 months' time, trains at Kill Cliff with a good group of people. Can he go back down to his natural weight class where he's had success throughout his career? That loss to Parsons is the first of his pro career. Only one loss in his amateur career. That was to Luis Pena, who eventually made it to the UFC as well. So this is a kid that knows how to win fights. Hasn't been against the best competition. But I just don't see Nazim Sadikov as that high of a level of competition. And so I'm going to bank on the guy that's been in there before. Did okay in a losing effort in his debut. I said on 10 Things a little bit, kind of channeling the David Onama and the Christian Rodriguez, a couple of guys that we saw make their debuts up a division, catch losses, but come back down and have success when they get back to their natural weight class. So I'm picking Elder, and I'm also throwing $10 on him to get the victory at plus 162. Just see if we can turn 10 into 26, get a little profit on an upset win. Move to the welterweight division. AJ Fletcher versus Themba Gorimbo. Ian O'Neill, what do you like?
I like AJ Fletcher's chin because it took an absolute hiding in the Dana White's Contender Series. Jesus, the guy took an absolutely ferocious flying knee at the start of the fight and just kept eating shots throughout. I think the AJ Fletcher's kind of, I think he's lucky that he's in with a not so good fighter in Themba Gorimbo in this fight. To be honest, I'm not really too kind of high up on Themba coming in here. He has a reach and a heist advantage, but he doesn't know how to use it, to be honest, from what I've seen. Very comfortable in top control, but I'm not sure that he's going to get that top control position against AJ Fletcher. I think AJ Fletcher is just going to be way better, well-rounded than Themba. He's going to have more power on the feet. He's going to be stronger in the grappling exchanges. And I think he's just going to land the more impactful strikes. I think AJ Fletcher is going to be disappointed if he doesn't get a finish here. I think he's almost guaranteed to win. Well, you can't be almost guaranteed to win, but I'd be pretty damn confident. I'd be confident enough, but that being said, nothing stuck out to me in this fight. I've picked Fletcher to win. I've chosen not to play on this either. Just because nothing really stuck out to me. I was thinking of throwing Fletcher into the parlay, but then I'm getting up in the numbers then, and to be real, the more fighters you put in, the more chance you have to lose, to be honest. So I've picked AJ Fletcher for this fight. No plays.
To steal from my guy Cody Saftik, I'm getting real greasy on this one. I think AJ Fletcher rolls here. I think he needs to roll here. I think he probably knows that. To me, overall, AJ Fletcher is a guy that probably the overall trajectory or like best case scenario for his career is that he is an absolute stud on the regional circuit. Just a guy that can fight at 170 in LFA or CFFC or one of those and be a regular fixture in the title picture. But I think he's a little undersized overall for the UFC welterweight division. But I think he's the more explosive, more athletic guy here. As you said, Themba Gorimbo, not a lot to really like about him coming in here. Feels like one of those, unless I'm missing something, I'm not sure why he's here. And so I'm going to chase a little bit here. And I admit right now, right here, right now, that this is me chasing. It's $25 on Fletcher to finish at plus 105, which returns 51 and a quarter. And it's $5 on him to get it done in the first round at plus 275, which returns another 1875. So all told, it's $30 out and it's 70 back for a $40 profit if AJ Fletcher can get this done inside of one. We saw him do it on the Contender Series against a similar level of competition. That's the thing I'm banking on here. All the way up to those first two UFC fights, it's 9 starts, 9 wins, 9 finishes against this level of competition. Hopefully, the 2 losses to Matt Semmelsberger and Angelosa haven't just shattered him, and he can come out and be that dynamic, explosive guy we saw earn the contract with the first win of season 5, the first fight of season 5. Get a victory, get a quick finish, give me some profit. Come on, AJ Fletcher.
I don't think people should be too kind of, especially coming into this fight with his last 2 performances. He was competitive against Angelusa. Yep. Lusa is just
competitive against Matt
Semmelsberger too, and those 2 are good fighters. I wouldn't say that, we don't know, but I wouldn't say they're going to be like touching on the rankings or anything like that. But still, 2 very good fighters to have lost.
Steady mid-pack welterweight,
100%. So I wasn't too teetered by those 2 defeats. You could see a lot of positives in that Lusa fight. I just think that, Lusa figured him out a little bit earlier and was just a little bit better in all areas. I think, if you're putting AJ Fletcher and Lusa, they're pretty similar fighters. It's just that Lusa did things a little bit different or a little bit better in that fight. And I don't think that Themba Gorimbo holds a patch to Lusa or to AJ Fletcher. I hope you get it done in this. I hope he gets the finish and Spence gets to pick up some cashish.
Me too. We move to the flyweight division to start off the night. Clayton Carpenter, Juan Camilo Ronderos. 6 fights in the flyweight division this year in 2023. All 6 of them have ended inside of the distance. Who are you picking? Do you have any plays in the first fight of UFC Vegas 69?
For the first time this year, I have chosen not to play on the first fight. I am very confident that Clayton Carpenter is going to win this fight. I think Honderos came out and what was it? Not a couple of hours notice, 12 hours notice, I believe, against
something like that. Yeah, 24 hours at most.
Yeah, absolutely wild on the feet. Wasn't able to get the fight down. And he ended up getting hurt and finished. Look, that can happen on 12 days notice. So, there might be a couple of surprises in here, but I still think that Carpenter is just better overall here. He got hurt, showed a good chin in Dana White's Contender Series, but he simply has more technical striker than Honderos. His high kick is a serious weapon, as is his low kick as well. And he's going to be using high and low kicks to kind of confuse Honderos in this fight. When he's hurt, remains calm. When he's not hurt, remains calm. I like seeing that as well. So he's comfortable in the chaos. And I think that's going to suit him in this fight because Honderos is going to bring a lot of chaos, to be honest. So I just expect Clayton Carpenter to be too strong in the striking and in the grappling departments here. I think he gets the job done. That's my pick. I've chosen not to play on this as well. I think my reason not to play on these fights also kind of boils down to me betting heavy on Jessica Andrade in the main event as well. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You got to limit your exposure at times. I'm in the exact same boat as you. I think Clayton Carpenter fundamentally, technically should be able to get the victory, but I am staying away in terms of plays. He got touched up a little bit in the start of that Contender Series fight against Edgar Cherez. Ronderos hasn't fought since that David Dvorak fight. He caught a suspension. He was off all of last year. He's coming out bad out of hell here. He's coming out gunning. And so staying away from it. Pick his Carpenter. That's all I got. Good sir.
I lied. I forgot. I put Carpenter in a parlay.
Fair enough. Well, let's get to those famed Ian O'Neill parlays. I'm sure there are wonderful names for them. So hit me with them before we get to mine, and then we get out of here.
We just got one this week, Spencer. I didn't go too mad on the parlays. We're calling it the Tick Willie parlay. We're coming in hot on Tick Willie in the one. I got, as I said, Clayton Carpenter to win at -334. I got Ashkabov to win in his fight versus Jamal Emmers. I've got Mario Bueno Silva to beat Lena Landsberg at -500. That's big odds. I said I'd throw her in there to spruce up that parlay a little bit. And I've got Tick Willie. That's why I called it the Tick Willie parlay, because if the other 3 win, and it's a big if, we were all
down to Tick Willie.
Down to Tick Willie to do the business in that. And if I'm going to let you kind of, I had the calculation and I never written it down. So I'm just going to tot it up real quick while you're talking about your parlays.
Fair enough. So mine are the same as I always do. It is a main card parlay with Jessica Andrade, Zach Pauga, Jamal Pogues, Marcin Prachnio, and Jim Miller. $1, 5 winners, plus 1,790 in odds. So that $1 returns $17.88. On the prelims, we go Myra Bueno Silva, Hussein Ashkabov, Philippe Lins, Evan Elder, AJ the Ghost Fletcher, and Clayton Carpenter. $1 those 6 fighters, plus 13.18. So $1 returns 13.22. And then if we combine all 11 of those fighters and we go 11 for 11, as we talk about at the end of every show, if by chance we go perfect, I go perfect. Ian gets 2 losses because we have 2 different picks. I go 11-0. He goes 9-2. I go 11-0. $1 at plus 26,704 nets me $266.82 in return. Puts me, unfortunately, a little bit to the good for the year because we're already down close to 200 bills, but it gets us back. And if we go 11 for 11, it means we're cashing all the other tickets on the card. So it will be a very good night, fictionally, theoretically, in the Kyte household if we go 11 for 11.
A lot of pride at stake, Spencer, this weekend.
Lots
a lot of pride
at
this weekend.
Always a lot of pride.
Just to come back on my parlay, $10 is going to get you 48 and 41 cents. Look, this is a bit of a fun parlay. There's a lot of close fights here. I'm not super confident about it. Rather than just being too defensive in my bet, and I decided I'll throw these into a couple of parlays. Let's see what happens. 4-leg parlay, tenner will get you back 48-41. Knight, Bueno Silva, Ashkabov, and Carpenter.
Fair enough. As we said, lots of pride involved here. Hopefully it works out. It's just pride, though, as we said off the top, as we said in the show notes. Please wager responsibly. Only put in what you can afford to lose. House always wins, guys. It's tough to do this. Have some fun with it. Go check out everything that Ian is doing. Follow him on Twitter at IO'NeillMMA. Check out the Patreon for SevereMMA, SevereMMA.com/pints. Loads of good stuff, including IO hosting the Old Triangle, which is back next week, I believe, as well as a bunch of other stuff. Good stuff on the site right now as well. Quilch is covering the IMAFs that are going on. Bunch of Irish fighters have been having some success. Harry and I will be back on Tuesday with the takeaways. We'll then roll right into getting ready for UFC Vegas 70, which then will roll right into UFC 285, which I'm sure we're going to blow out because it's finally the return of John Jones.
I'm just going to put my hand up here and say I may spontaneously combust at the return of John Jones to the heavyweight division.
It's going to be good times. There's a lot of good content coming from this team on this platform, on all the platforms. Go check it out. For Ian, I am Spencer. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Have fun on Saturday. And we'll see you next week.